Hey there. A lot of Warhammer miniatures, especially Space Marines and especially Horus Heresy Space Marines, have studs and rivets that are all over the place. And they add a lot of nice visual detail, and I've been using them on quite a lot of my miniatures as well. You see here, and I added these myself. So there's a couple of ways of making these. Today I wanted to share 3 of those methods with you, so that you could also make a couple of those yourselves. I'm going to show 3 methods because every method is a bit different and has different upsides and downsides. I would experiment with all 3 of them if I were you, just to see which one works best for you. And the first one gets you very nice results quite quickly, which is the glass or plastic spheres that I have here. So these I got from a certain online store where you get a small jar of different sizes of glass beads. These ones are plastic, and I got them from a local hobby store. They're actually nail beads for nail decoration, so you can look those up as well. Those are I think even smaller than these glass ones, so you get various different sizes. What you're going to do for that method is take a drill that's roughly the size of the spheres that you're going to add. So here I have a couple of beads, and I can try to add those to a miniature. So let's say, for instance, I want to have a row of rivets on the side here. Now the first thing that you have to start thinking about, and that's going to be the same for any of these methods, is how you want to space them. That's usually the hardest part. And what I usually do is I just take a marker with a very fine tip and start drawing where I roughly want to have them. So let's say I want to have 3 of them here on the edge. I'll put one in the middle, and then one here and one there. Okay, now I see that my spacing is off, so I'll put this one a little bit lower, probably somewhere over there. So what I do is I take my drill and I start drilling on those 3 spots. And don't make the hole too deep, because you're going to put the sphere into the hole, of course, but you want roughly half of the sphere to stick out. Now you immediately see one of the problems with this method, and that's that your drill will start to wander while drilling, which is unfortunate, but that's something that will happen. So you will have to try to compensate that with the next hole that you're drilling. Just drill slowly and take your time. So now I have 3 holes in a row, and I pick up one of the beads and I simply press it, and then it flies away. I press it in. That's one. That's 2. And there we have number 3. So if you made the holes deep enough, you don't need any glue, and it will just stick in there. And especially after painting, they will stick into place, no problem. So this is already fine as it is. All right. Now if I want to add some rivets, for instance, to this shoulder pad, and I want some of the bigger ones, I'll take a bigger drill bit. And again, I start by sketching out where I want to have them. Let's say one near the bottom, one near the center, and one near the top. And if you want a nice pattern, you can add some here, maybe, and then some here. That's roughly the pattern that the Horus Heresy is usually going for. Same idea, we take a drill. That one. the hole's not big enough, you can use a drill to widen the top a little bit. It's usually enough. There we go. Alright, so that's the first method. So drilling holes and adding some glass beads. Now there's some downsides to this. The first downside is the placement of the hole. My drill bit will always move around a little bit before actually grasping the plastic, so my holes will start to wander a bit. And yeah, it's not a huge problem, but if you want to make a really nice pattern, and this is not really the easiest way to go. And the other problem I would say with this method is that the spheres that you get, they're not all exactly the same size. There's always some variation. So before you start, you should make sure that you pick out a set of spheres that are roughly the same size. But overall you get some very nice results, and that's exactly what I did for this one. So with some effort, you can get a very nice pattern quite quickly. Now another method with a little bit more control is, I think, the more common method, which is using plastic rod. So you can get these kinds of rods from a hobby shop. I got them from a brand called Evergreen, and you get rods in all kinds of different sizes and shapes. And if you buy the round ones, you can also get them in different diameters. Now the trick here is that you're going to cut a lot of rivets from this rod. So you take a sharp knife and you will start cutting off very thin slices from here. And the problem is this: so if I start cutting, they'll fly away and you'll have no rivets. So either you can put like a small sponge or something and that'll stop it. Or the other thing that you can do is that when you cut it, you put your finger on top of it so that you'll catch it with your finger, as you can see here, and then save them. And you can do the same for the bigger one. There we go, and now we have a rivet, and we got another one. And before you start gluing, just cut a whole series of rivets until you think that you have enough for the project that you're going for. So one of the problems of this method is, as you can see here, this rivet is really thin, this rivet it's really thick. So cut a whole lot of them and then only pick out the ones of the same thickness that you're looking for, which is exactly what I already did over here. So I have a series of very small rivets and a series of bigger ones. I think the big ones are too big for my armor here, and the smaller ones I think are more in line with what I want. So I think I can make a series of rivets here. Okay, what we're going to do now is, the first thing is I'm going to take a fresh blade. Then I'm going to take a small card and some glue. Just put some glue on the card. And the whole trick here is, with the tip of my my blade, I'm going to pick up one of the rivets. So it just sticks. Then I'll touch it to the glue. And then I'll touch it to the miniature, roughly where I want to have it, which is right over there. Alright, that's one. That's two. There we go. Now the cool thing here is, because I'm using plastic glue, after I've put them onto the surface, I can still move them around. So if I'm not very happy with the placement, I can just fool around with it a bit until I'm happier with it. So let's say I want to have another row above it. There we go. And we have a nice row of rivets. Now there's also one other trick that I want to show you, because you can also stack them. So if I take a big one first Put it, say let's here. Now I can put a smaller one on top of the first one. And if you do that, what you get is something like a nut and bolt style, which is kind of cool, I think. So you stack a smaller one on top of a bigger one. So that was the second method. Now the upside for this method is that the placement is easier because you can still move them around. The downside here is that I can only make flat rivets like this. For the spheres I can only make round ones, so like the studs, but for the plastic ones I can only make flat rivets. And the thickness of all my rivets will be different, and top will not be completely parallel to the surface, but a bit wobbly. So maybe you can see here. And not all perfect. There is an easy solution for that, of course, because if I wait until my glue is dry and just sand them down, they will be flat. Now you might already have guessed the final method that I'm going to show you, because that's of course green stuff and sculpting your own rivets. This method is going to be the most work, but the upside to it is that you have, I think, the most control over where the rivets are placed. As well as the shape of the rivets. So let's say I want to complete my pattern here by adding another rivet next to it. I pick up a little bit of green stuff and press it firmly onto the surface so that it sticks. And then with a soft tool I start pushing it into shape. And I can very easily move it around. If I don't like the placement, I can just push it somewhere else with the tool. Now I think that it's too much. Remove some green stuff. Now once it's roughly the right shape, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my tool to make some sharp edges to the rivet. And I'm going to use my finger to make the top smoother. Just like that, and go back and forth. There we go. I think that's already nice. Now the Horus Heresy miniatures also have like the spikes, the diamond shaped spikes, and I can quite easily make those with green stuff as well. A little bit of green stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to gently push the green stuff from each of the sides and pull it upwards a bit. And I think we have quite a nice square spike right now. And of course, if I'm not happy with it, I can just scrape it away and start again. Right, so that's the third method. I think the upside for this is that you have the most control over where you place the rivets and what shape they're going to be. Yeah, the obvious downside to it is that you, of course, have to sculpt it yourself. So if you're not so much into sculpting, then pick one of the other ones instead. That's it. So these are the 3 methods for adding studs and rivets to miniatures that I use quite a lot. I hope you saw something interesting here, and I hope this helps you with adding some Horus Heresy vibes to your miniatures. Or just some grimdark stuff, which is always a good idea, right? Anyway, so let me know in the comments if you have still any questions, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.